Perfect. Okay. Well, I'm Catherine. I'm the general manager of Women Travel Abroad. And I'm really excited for all of you to learn a bit more about our Bali trip. It is in December of this year, and this will be our third year in a row going to Bali. So it's one of our favorite destinations, and we love returning. Um, Feel free to interrupt me and come off mute if you have questions. I'm just gonna present. Okay. So as I said, the trip is in December of this year. It is from December 3rd to 10th of 2025. Um, at a high level overview, we're going to be staying on the sort of central west coast of Bali. It is actually a pretty sizable island. To get from like one side of it to the other can take anywhere from sort of 2 to 4 hours, depending on traffic. It's also a very densely populated island along the coasts, but then the interior is really like wild jungle, all the rice paddies, and some volcanoes, which we'll have the chance to explore on this trip. Um, at a high level, the highlights are a day trip to Ubud, which is the really central, beautiful jungle, as well as the monkey forest, which is an opportunity to go with a guide and learn about some of the flora and fauna native to Bali. We will have a day where we just relax completely at our villa and everyone gets a massage. I'll say more about our accommodations later, but we'll be staying at a private villa that is just our group of women. You'll have a chef, a pool, and daily access to a masseuse if you so please, but one massage is included. We will also do the iconic Bali swing. You don't have to swing if you don't want, but you'll still get to get in a dress and take some really beautiful photos. And then we also go to this really cool glass bridge, which is a hanging bridge directly over a jungle and a waterfall. And then after going over the bridge, we'll also have the chance to go down to the waterfalls and enjoy a day sort of at these natural pools formed by the waterfalls. So those are some of the highlights. I'm going to do a bit more in depth about day-to-day itinerary. So on December 3rd, everybody will arrive to DPS, which is the Denpasar Airport. And if you'd like to arrive a day early, that can absolutely be arranged. Actually, most of the women signed up for the trip so far, there are 5 of them, are all coming a day early. So that's not an issue. But either you'll arrive on the 2nd or the 3rd of December, and you'll check into the villa. We will transfer you from the airport to our villa, and you'll check in, get your room, and then we'll have a really nice welcome dinner at our villa that night. On the 4th is our relaxation day because everybody's been traveling from so far away. This is really the first day that you have to just relax and enjoy the villa. You'll be able to hang out by the pool. We'll get those included massages, and the villa itself is about a 10-minute walk from a black sand beach, which you're also welcome to walk on. Take your towel and go down and lie on the beach, whatever you'd like to do. Then the following day, December 5th, is where we're going to do that Bali swing experience. We're going to go to a local coffee and tea plantation and taste different varieties. Bali and Balinese coffee is actually one of the world's sort of best known types of coffee beans. What you'll probably hear it called is Javanese coffee, Java beans. But the same variety of bean that is grown in the Indonesian island of Java is what's grown in Bali. So it's a chance to taste a very different type of coffee than what you get with Arabica beans, which are like the typical type that you get in the US. Javan beans are much like more floral and fruity. It's really, really nice coffee if you like coffee. We'll also do the monkey forest, and then finally return back in the evening to our villa. On the 6th, we get up early and we take some jeeps and then a final hike up to the top of Mount Batur. It gives you a 360-degree view of the sunrise over Bali, and it's also an active volcano, which is really cool. And then you'll get to see these other active volcanoes here that you can kind of see in this picture. Depending on the sort of seismic activity at the time, you might even get to see like little puffs of smoke coming from the volcanoes, but it's very safe. And, hundreds, if not thousands of people do it every single year going up to the top. And it has really one of the best views of the island of Bali. And we'll have breakfast. And then the rest of that afternoon is at leisure since you'll have gotten up early. Again, if you want to arrange an extra massage or if you want to go to the beach, all of that is a great thing to do in the afternoon. On the 7th, this is our waterfalls day and the Bali Bridge day. So this is a picture from our last trip there. It's really fun to just walk along the bridge. Again, it has nice views. And then you go down to a beach club in essence, but it's not a beach. It's actually, I guess, a waterfall club because it's a series of natural pools and waterfalls that you can swim in. We spend the day there and then go back to our villa in the evening. The 8th is our day where we're really focused on temples and the really spiritual heritage of Bali. So Bali is a super important island for all of the Hindu people that live in Indonesia. Indonesia is primarily a Muslim country, but Hinduism is the second most predominant religion. And most of the major Hindu temples in Indonesia are all on the island of Bali. So there's a lot of different sacred spaces, and there's a lot of interesting history that we can learn about Bali through visiting these temples. So we'll visit 2 different temples, as well as visiting a local market to see what that shopping for local foods, fruits, etc. is like, and a few other sort of important historical monuments along the way. In that late afternoon, again, if you want to go to the beach or if you want to have a spa treatment, we'll usually finish this day by around 1 or 2 in the afternoon and then have some free time. Finally, the 9th is our fully free day. So we like to, on every trip, give a fully free day because we get that everybody has different types of interests and may, want to do different things. So what we can help arrange is day trips to other temples or also day trips to say Seminyak or Canggu, which are 2 well-known sort of beach towns that are about 40 minutes away from our hotel. And really part of the process of once you sign up and book the trip, pay the deposit, we send you a lot of information. And at the 90-day mark, we all get on a Zoom call. So just you and the other women going on your trip, plus your trip host from our team. And we share more about the itinerary, answer all of your questions, but also we talk about what are these optional activities that you can add. And so at that point, we then start to get a poll for who wants to do what, and we can arrange any additional experiences you'd like to do. We have done cooking classes on this day as well, so that's always something that we can look at arranging if you're interested. And then finally, December 10th is your departure. So we would have private transfers back from our villa to the Denpasar airport for your departures. Most departures, if you're flying back to the US, are going to be in the late afternoon, evening. And so we are usually pretty lucky in that we can not have to check out of our villa until the mid to late afternoon. And then that gives you plenty of time to enjoy, sleep in, have a final day by the pool before going to the airport about 3 hours ahead of your international departure flight. So let me, I'll say a little bit about pricing and then I will pause and just get anybody's questions. So
this is not Singapore.
Okay. So the pricing is 5,495 USD in single occupancy. So all of our trips are always in single occupancy. You get your own private room and bathroom at the villa. We recognize that since we have a variety of women from all over the country, most people are coming solo, meeting for the first time on these trips, that it's a lot more comfortable if everyone has like their own private space to go back to in the evenings. So you'll spend the day with the group, but then have your own private room to return to in the afternoons and evenings after dinner. On this trip, you have daily breakfast and dinner included, and then 5 lunches. The only day that lunch is not included is that free day, just because everybody's going to be doing their own things. And so rather than force everybody to come back together for lunch, We just don't include lunch that day, but every other day where we are doing guided activities and group experiences, lunch is included. So outside of that one lunch, there should be not really any other expenses besides souvenirs that you would be paying. All of the guided activities, as well as tips for the guides, drivers, all of that is already included. The main thing that is not included is international airfare because we have women traveling from all over the US and Canada for this trip. And so everybody's airfare costs a different amount. So it's impossible for us to price that into the trip. But if you'd like assistance in booking a trip, or sorry, in booking your flights, we are more than happy to provide guidance on which flights to book and can book those for you. And then finally, these are sort of our most common FAQs, but I'll open it up for questions after this. So it should be in the 70s and 80s. It is the beginning of rainy season, so sometimes you can get showers in December, but they tend to be, like most tropical places, like a nice sunny morning, a rain shower in the afternoon, and then sunny again in the late evening. And the times we've run this before, we've really not had any issues with weather. It maybe rains one day out of the whole week that we're there. And otherwise, it's just a really pleasant, balmy, tropical environment. And in terms of visas, US and Canadian citizens do require what's called a visa on arrival. This is something that you can either get literally as a stamp in your passport when you arrive, or you can do the application process ahead of time electronically and then get like a QR code, which you show at the airport. The price is the same whether you wait to do it on arrival or you do it ahead of time. We've never had anybody denied, and really all they need is proof of where you're staying as well as what your return or departure flight is. And that visa is valid for 30 days and it costs about 35 US dollars. So if you're booked on the trip, we provide detailed instructions on how to apply for that visa. That's something that we typically, if you want to do the electronic one, recommend folks do about 60 days in advance of travel. And then in terms of health, there are no mandatory vaccines to travel to Bali, but it's good to just generally be up to date on any of your shots for international travel. And then the only thing to know, Bali, it's not safe to drink the tap water there. It's fine to shower with, and it's also fine to brush your teeth with. But we will provide bottled water for drinking, and we do generally recommend avoiding ice in drinks just because you don't know if that's filtered water or if that's just like regular tap water. And the best way to not have any belly or indigestion issues is just to generally avoid ice and tap water. So other than that, there are really not any major health concerns with Bali. But I will pause there and open it up for any questions. Lily.
Yes, I have a couple actually. The hike up to Mount Batur, how long is that and what's the elevation?
The elevation is about 2,500 feet above sea level, so it's not super high.
Okay.
And the hike itself is, you can do as much or as little of it as you want. So you can actually take the Jeeps all the way to the top, or you can get out and hike up some if you want. I think the typical place that people get out and hike is like less than a mile to the top. But again, we've had ladies who just want to take the Jeeps all the way up to the top, and that's not a problem.
Okay, so figure a mile or less.
Yeah, or less. Yeah.
What do we do about currency? Because I looked at the the currency conversion and it's like, what is it? 16,000 rupees
Yeah.
dollar. I'm like, I can't calculate that in my head. Most other countries I have no problem. So and how much should we bring with us,
Yeah, so the good news is Bali is very tech friendly and savvy. So really you shouldn't need cash very much at all. With the exception of like some small local artisans or street vendors prefer cash to card, but you really like at most of the restaurants if you wanted to order alcohol or if you wanted to have another massage, those are things you could pay for in on card without an issue. Just making sure you have a Visa or a MasterCard. if you do want cash, what I would recommend is bringing some US dollars, and then we can exchange them on that first day. Or if you want, you can bring a debit card and we can take you to an ATM and you can take rupees out. The good news is the rupees come in like pretty large denominations. When I have been to Bali, I think there are like I think 200, 500, 1,000, and even like $2,000 bills. So while it feels, well, it's hard to do the mental math for sure. It's not like you're going to have to be carrying around a whole bunch of like $1 bills, right? Or 1 rupee bills. You're going to be having larger denomination bills. And you'll find a lot of things in Bali. They're a lot cheaper than they are in the US, but a lunch in Bali might be sort of on the order of like 30 to 45,000 rupees, depending on, what you're eating. So pretty cheap. That's oftentimes you can eat good meals for like under $5 US.
Wow.
But, there are also definitely plenty of much fancier things that, will cost you more like US prices. But we find that it's generally a pretty cheap place to travel to. So you're not going to need too many hundreds of thousands of rupees. Like you could bring 100 US dollars and exchange that for rupees and be totally fine.
You and I had discussed the possibility of me going to one of the water palaces, but as I look at some of the pictures, it looks like and water palace is different than a temple. I get that, but it looks like a lot of the temples have water around them.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if it's necessary. I'm trying to simplify myself because I tend to take on too much and then it gets too complicated for me. So maybe I'll just skip the water palace idea.
Yeah, a lot of the two big temples that we go to in sort of the central Ubud region, they both have really beautiful water features where they're like the temples are sort of like floating on these lake water features. Um, and I'm happy. I can also ask our like driver and guide in Bali if they have any recommendations for sort of really cool temples that are maybe less like an hour or less away from the villa rather than 2.5 3 hours. But I would say like I said, for the free day, any activities like that, what we'll do is sort of get a pulse check from everybody on the trip
Oh,
about
good.
90 days in advance and say, hey, here are some options, and then people can elect into those, and we'll say, hey, okay, if you want to do, this temple, it's going to be an extra $50. If you want to do the cooking class, it's $25, like whatever those prices are. And then you can decide which you want to add.
Do the temples, any of them include us being able to see the dancing?
It depends on the temple and the time of day that we go. We've had some luck where there's often not necessarily dancing, but there are people doing like rituals and prayers. When you go and so you can watch people sort of there's a lot of ceremony involved in sort of giving offerings to the gods and lighting candles and taking care of the temples themselves. So you often do just by going, and the guide can explain a lot about like what each of those experiences in temples means, what's the significance of them. But you will see local people actually, coming to pray at those temples as even as a visitor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Questions from other people?
Sally?
Hold on, Sally. I'm so sorry. I still can't hear you. Sally, um do you see a little thing that comes up in the chat maybe on the side of your phone, like with some text? Um, let me, unfortunately, I can't unmute somebody for them, but there is a button. There's an unmute microphone down at the bottom. Um, Sally, I can follow up with you after the call directly and just give you a phone call if that works. Then I can answer any of your questions. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Any other questions from folks?
Catherine, you said that the initial Zoom calls will begin 90 days out. Is that what you said?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And that's typically when we also sort of close registration. So right now we have 5 travelers, and we have 3 spots left on the trip. We'll cap it at 8 women. And then, if we don't fill those spots, we don't fill them. The group will certainly go with the size it already is. And typically our signups, the cutoff is just about 3 months in advance also. So that'll put you in I guess mid-September.
Okay. You and I had spoken some time ago about the possibility of doing a extended layover in Dubai.
Dubai, yes.
And did you get a consensus from the other ladies?
Yeah, I have one other woman who is interested. She hasn't booked her flights, and I think what her hope was to maybe spend like 24-ish hours in Dubai, but I'm happy to let me go back to her because she had said she wanted to look at like flight prices and if that changed anything. But remind me where you're flying from in the US?
RDU?
RDU. Okay. So let me look at flights for you also and just see because I know Emirates typically it should be possible for you to fly and then spend maybe 48 to 72 hours there, which is honestly enough in Dubai.
Yeah,
And
I've already booked, and I am booked with Emirates. And I
okay,
did see that they do have some flights with very lengthy layovers,
layovers.
but I did not book one of those flights.
Okay. Yeah, let me talk to the other woman and just see where she's at on that, and then I will send you an email tomorrow.
Okay, okay,
Perfect.
thanks.
Yep. Other questions?
So if we're ready to book, how do we
Yeah.
go ahead and take the next step?
Yes. So what you'll do is I will send a email out to folks after this, if you're not folks on the trip, with a link to book the trip, and you'll pay a $400 deposit to reserve your spot. Since we're only a few months away from the trip, with the way our typical payment processes work is that you pay the deposit and then each month you make an installment payment. In this case, you'd pay your deposit in July, you'd pay $400 in August, and then the trip balance is due 90 days prior to travel. So you would pay your balance off in September and you'll get sort of an email reminder about all of that. And then around that September mark is also, like I said, when those trip calls start. But if you're ready to book, I will send a link that has a registration form. You'll fill out the registration form. That will generate an email to you. The email will have your invoice and a link to pay. And then you just pay the deposit either via credit card or bank transfer. And at that point, your spot on the trip is reserved.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, I'm happy to stick around and answer any other questions that folks have. Sally, I will give you an email right after this, and then we can set up a call and we can chat. Um, but if folks have any other questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I wish everybody a great rest of your night and look forward to hopefully welcoming you on the Bali trip.
Okay.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Perfect. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thanks.